ever since I guess it was probably about sixth, seventh grade in school. They asked what we want to do. You're going to do a report on what you want to be when you grow up. I don't know if I've grown up yet, but it was radio at the time. And I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. And I ended up getting involved when I was in high school and got my first job, and I've never turned back since. So I get a chance to do very similar, get the chance to talk to people and have a good time. And I've got a show here and on Rumble and Facebook, and we stream every day. There, I get a chance to fill in for Glenn Beck on his national program from time to time when he takes vacation. So encourage him to take as much. Be rested, Glenn, but I get to have fun with him and do all that good stuff, and it's been a blast, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We have got Justin Barclay with us today. The website is justinbarclay.com. He joins us today here on our big broadcast. So, Justin, whenever I get a chance to talk to radio people, I always love talking to radio people, especially about radio.
Yeah.
What do you think of the current state of the radio business?
Well, it depends on where you are, but I think it's thriving in a lot of places. For me, back in 2020, I get to work at a great place, great local radio station. I get great management here. They are they're just awesome. And I know it's not like that everywhere, but in 2020, when everything was kind of breaking down and people needed news, they needed information, they needed what was going on. Yeah, you go online to get some of that, but a lot of it, especially the local stuff, I found there was more of a need than ever before, and we thrived through that period. We still have, I don't know if you catch this, but the news hasn't let up. It's like there's never a dull moment. It's like drinking from a fire hose. There's always so much happening, And awesome. But we try to keep people updated. We try to give them the truth, let them know the stories that they're not going to see anywhere else. In some cases, there's this tendency to kind of only share certain things or certain narratives or certain stories. And in 2020, I just decided, I was seeing things coming out. I was seeing things coming from all different directions, but really some of it would say, here's some of the story, but they would leave, and then there would be some where they just would completely lie altogether. And I said, I'm just going to do something crazy. Call me nutty, but I'm just going to tell people everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then they get to make the best decisions. I think if you know all the facts, all the details, you can make better decisions for yourself, your family, and that's what we did. So yeah, the state of radio, I think in some places, it can be challenging, but in others, especially where folks are doing it local and they're doing it, I gotta say local, but I also stream. I'm on the Facebook, I'm on Rumble, I'm on Getter, I'm on like all these different places that people can actually watch a show. So, when we're on the radio, we're producing content, we're talking to people, it's just relationships, but you can put that everywhere like you have on your website. You're everywhere. So there is no limit to that, but I don't think people will ever lose. And in fact, you know what? I think it'll continue as we move forward here with all the craziness that we're going to see in tech, but will always have that craving to connect with other people, right?
Well, what is and you bring it up with the, being on Rumble and being on all the other places. Where did we get into this fascination where people love to watch other people do radio? Where in the world did all this crap start?
That's a good question, because honestly, when I do my show, it's not very polished. I just do a behind the scenes live stream is what I call it. And people get to see, getting ready, doing things in the background. I usually, I don't play like the news or commercials, and we'll chat with people on the screen as things are going on. Part of it is, I think, the fascination, again, to see a peek behind the curtain of the thing that you don't ever really get to see. Part of it is that fascination, I think. If they had this ability when I was a kid, I probably would have watched it. I definitely would have. But I also think that with other folks, they're coming in the chat, and what I've seen is they, day after day, just love being there with other people They get to know they're not alone. There's a kind of a community that develops in there. And a lot of these folks have ended up getting together and meeting up outside of the chat and having dinner with each other and stuff. So I just think people like that sense of community and the sense of relationship.
I think that's awesome. Well, one of the things, which, by the way, we have a great guest with us today. He joins us live here in our big broadcast. Justin Barclay is with us. He is basically the original ferret in a Jello fight. He is just shot out of a cannon today here on our big program. One of the things that I have noticed with the Democratic Party, and it's starting to be that way with the Republican Party, although I think they're a couple years behind. And I noticed that this happens in radio as well. There is no bench to pull from. Why is it that, like, for instance, with the Democrats, there's nobody to pull from to run for various offices, and it seems that way with radio, where it's like you see these radio ads on All Access of these places where they're like, "Oh, we've got all these great opportunities," and it's like, well, yeah, but Glenn Beck is not giving up his millions to move to the middle of Fargo to work at a small AM for no money and no benefits.
Well, I think part of it is the no bench situation. I think part of it is in politics, but also in business too. But it's this hubris of, hey, we don't need those people. We don't need the bench. Yep. We don't need the people that are up and coming. I got in at just the right time. When I got in, it was before the computers came in, and we were still playing CDs and carts at the time, which are like little 8-tracks people are not familiar with. And somebody's probably listening to this going, CDs? What's a CD? But yeah, I got into right before the computers kind of took off, and I don't know if I would have gotten a job. Now, if I were growing up right now, I probably would have bypassed radio.
See, this is what I tell people all the time. Like, young people can do all their crap on the phone. They don't need radio.
I would have had a TikTok or a YouTube or something, and who knows how much money I would have made. And I just would have been. I mean, I think I came up at the wrong time, But yeah, I just and that's. I will say this about business and politics as well. You got to be careful, because when you start cutting people out of the process in a very people-oriented industry, or very people-oriented when it comes to politics, and you start cutting those people out, then you're going to end up, especially with the way technology is now, people finding their own way, and they're finding their own way around. So, I don't need radio station anymore. I can, and now radio stations are going, radio networks and people, they're going to find talent in some of these other places where these people have been creative, TikTok or YouTube or whatever. And it's they got built-in listener bases and built-in audiences already. Yes. So why not?
Well, one of the things that I find amazing, we have got Justin Barclay with us today. He is great. He is a radio person who wants to talk radio and is not afraid of talking radio, which is always a good thing on this show, because every time I get radio people on, I try to talk radio, and they're like, they sidestep and misstep and go other places. So I'm glad we're able to talk radio today with
I'm
Justin.
An open book. Yeah.
What do you think of the fact that it used to be, when I was growing up and you were growing up, radio was the place we got all of the news and everything, and then social media took over, and now radio's trying to play catch up. And there are some radio groups that are doing amazing things with social media. There is a guy here fairly recently who, locally here in Kansas, who used to do remotes on the radio, and then he would turn around and he would do the exact same thing on their Facebook page or their Twitter with video. And it was seamless and it was great. But 90% of the time, radio stations plug their automation machine into Twitter, and Beyonce's coming up next, and that's what they believe is social media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you got to be careful. Every social platform has its own kind of culture, its own sort of way of operating. And sometimes I will try and take things that I produce somewhere else and then put them someplace else, and it doesn't always work, you know. So you got to be careful about that. And I think with radio too, it's similar. We have to be careful about how we maybe take advantage of these things, but essentially we've got content. And these companies that we have where we're producing this content, there ought to be somebody that takes the content that's happening inside the studio and repurposes anything on any platform, because you've got the ability to put it everywhere. Right now, you got amazing reach on TikTok. The numbers are what, 100 million people
it is
minutes a day.
No
sometimes.
Wonder the social media people
day.
want to put TikTok out of business.
Yeah. So, but think about this. I mean, the opportunities are endless. Possibilities. You can do anything. You're only limited by, what what your mind can conceive.
Yes.
So, yeah.
We have got Justin Barclay with us today. He is a frequent guest host for the Glenn Beck program, and he hosts his own radio program, West Michigan Live with Justin Barclay. And he also does the After Show podcast. He has written a great book, Good News, Hope, and Encouragement for Trying Times, and he joins us live today here on our big program. So let's talk about your book. Take me through your writing process to bring this thing to life.
Well, I originally I wanted to write a book, but I decided I didn't want to write a book because I felt like books had to be 300 pages and they had to be like perfect, no spelling error, no issues at all. And I just couldn't wrap my head around that. I just kept kind of putting it off. But eventually 2020 rolled around and I just felt pushed. I was going to say pulled, called one thing, but really pushed that I got to write this book. What happened was 2020, we went through the craziness that we went through. People were really getting, overwhelmed with all of the things that it had to deal with in the news. And then the election happens and people kept asking me, they would ask me, what do you think is going to happen here? What do you think is going to happen there? And I will always tell them I don't know. But I know God's still on the throne. So my faith kind of puts me in a place that I can say, I still have peace. It doesn't matter what we face. I still have peace. And one of the reasons I can say that is in 2020, my wife and I we had our first child. My daughter, our oldest, she was born at 27 weeks. And we spent 77 days in the hospital from the day my wife's water broke until the day we brought our daughter home. And I can't say that would have been possible the way we were able to make it through without my faith. So I wanted to share that with people, and I felt like really the push that I had to write this book to help people walk through whatever we face. Because, since 2020, it's only gotten worse, as I said earlier.
Yes.
It's like drinking from a fire hose every day, and I have a feeling that trend is going to continue as we move forward. So no matter what's coming at us, and surely a lot will in the years ahead, how do you find a way to walk through it? Because I don't think we should stick our head in the sand, bury it like an ostrich, and not pay attention to any of the things that are going on in the world. I think we need to be informed, but how do you make sure that you're consuming the news and it's not consuming you?
That's awesome. That is a fantastic way of looking at things. How do you consume the news without it consuming you?
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, the news. You're correct, brother. The news does not stop. Because I remember a few years ago, we loved going out and covering the adult video news convention out there in Vegas, and we got done with this convention, and I'm walking out of the hotel. Oh, and Kobe Bryant died. And I'm like, what? Holy crap. And it's like, stuff just doesn't ever stop. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it can be traumatic, too. The way things, like we're constantly in a 24-hour cycle now, there's trauma in that because we're constantly hearing bad news. And you
Yes.
don't get to see all the good news. And I talk about part of that in the book and why. I take people behind the curtain, show you how the sausage is made. But the news, like if it bleeds, it leads.
Yes.
That's their goal. I mean, we're a for-profit industry, so we have to sell commercials. The way we sell commercials is we got to keep you listening or watching longer and longer and
Yes.
longer, and that way we can sell more commercials for soap or car insurance or who knows what it is. I mean, that's just how we pay the bills. I don't have anything against commercials. They pay for my home and they pay for every so they feed my kids, so that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that there is a kind of a balancing line there. And
Yes.
you got to make sure that you're empowered through this process. We name winter storms now. I mean, it's something that's crazy. The Weather Channel.
We name winter storms now. That is awesome.
They go through this process of trying to pull people around, and they use fear. I think during the a lot of the 2020, the issues that we had, the real virus was fear. Think about it. I mean, it's one thing to
you
be
better believe it.
confronted with. Yeah, it's one thing to be confronted with like what's going on in the world and to know about it, but it's another thing to let it own you. And I just wonder how many people had to suffer because they weren't getting the truth. Hey, look, this isn't great. People are certainly, dying and there are issues, but what can we do? And how do we keep our heads on straight during all this? And I think, unfortunately, we're constantly being divided and distracted these days. But the truth is, regardless of politics, if you went and just talked to your neighbor, you got a lot more in common with your neighbor than folks would make you believe. And that goes for social media too. It's not just the big networks and things like that. But I tell you how to kind of get a grip of it. I take you behind the scenes, and as a radio guy, you'll probably enjoy this. There's a whole chapter that features one of the most legendary figures of radio, Paul Harvey.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we talk about all kinds of different things in that book. Great stories, not just my story, but stories that are meant to uplift and encourage folks.
Well, you have got a lot of different things happening. This whole thing where you fill in for Glenn Beck, how the hell did you end up with this? This is like the goal, the dream of a lifetime kind of thing.
It really is. I spent a lifetime chasing my career, climbing the corporate ladder and all this stuff. And in 2012, I lost my dream job, and I was working in a big market and making great money. And I mean, something was off. Something just wasn't right. But I was successful on the outside. But on the inside, something was missing. There was, like I said, something was off. And I think what I went through, I had to go through because I had put everything, all of this in front of, at the top of the ladder, instead of my faith and probably my relationships, and my wife and things like that. And when I lost this dream job, I knew for about a month it was going to happen. But the day I lost it, I remember my wife saying, "You're really calm. I would expect you to be more upset about this." We had just gotten married. I just signed another contract, an extension on my contract, so I was going to be there for another year or so. And then just months later, they said we were going to make a change, which happens in radio. I mean, I didn't see it coming then. So I wasn't. I had this like moment of peace. I just felt this weight was lifted off of me when it happened. And I felt like there's something bigger coming. There's something better coming. I didn't know what it was. But my friend who had hired me there, he works for Glenn. And he has a great relationship, goes back to the days that he and Glenn worked together in Tampa. And one of the things that he suggested to me at the time was, "Hey, have you ever thought about trying talk radio?" I said, "Well, that's what I was doing. I was doing a morning show." And so that's what I was doing when you guys kept telling me play more music. I was trying to talk. And so he kind of pushed me to go in that direction. And sure enough, he said at one point, he said, "One day I'm going to have you fill in for Glenn." And that day finally came, Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve of 2019. And I got a chance to do that. And I will tell you, while it was incredible, it is no longer the thing. And all of this could go away tomorrow. I mean, it's no longer the thing that I'm after. And I think the fact that I'm at that place, really gave me the ability to be able to do stuff like that. And, I don't know, man. I don't know about you. I guess I would, maybe I'd be driving a truck or delivering pizzas or something if I wasn't doing this. I have no idea.
Well, I'll
But,
tell you,
I'm grateful for it.
you are fantastic. We're gonna have to do this again at some stage of the game because you are fun. Justin Barclay with us today. He joins us live. You can find him on the Twitter machine at Mr. Justin Barclay, and he is just one of the big names out there in Michigan, making things happen. And you can find him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or just go to his supersonic website, justinbarclay.com, and see what he is up to. He is also one of these rare radio guys who I think that voice that he's using, that's his actual voice. He's not one of these guys, because you hear these radio guys, like get on the air and they talk like this. I know you don't order Chinese in that voice. and Justin, the voice he's been using today while he's talking to us, he could order his Chinese food later.
Yeah.
In that voice. So it's good that a radio guy who's got that doesn't have a radio voice. You're not just a gimmick.
Through the years I've probably had different iterations of that voice. And when you go on the air and you go on live, you're kind of, you're speaking in a different way. You're kind of exaggerating things, I think, in some ways. So that's kind of maybe where some of that comes from. You want to sound official and all that, but like, I don't know. Like nowadays, I just feel like that people, we just respond. We respond to more authenticity.
Yes,
just being you, just being yourself, and people, they respond to that. But there was certainly a time when that announcer thing was like, oh, you had to sound.
Oh, you had to sound like all these guys. You had to sound like you were talking like the Paul Harvey thing earlier.
Yeah.
Paul Harvey was a certain way and commanded, things. And then you go into like the guys like Howard Stern and Mancow and Grease Man and all these guys. And now we've got Glenn and Rush and all these guys. And it's like, is political talk radio like the new shock jock radio? Is it like popular like that? Because I remember back in the day it was Lycus and O&A and they'd taken over the planet. And now you've got Beck and Hannity and...
Yeah, I think I call myself a reformed radio shock jock. So I'm kind of like, I used to do that stuff, I used to work in rock and top 40 radio and did morning shows. And the one time, had to be very shocking. But that wasn't just you weren't just being shocking just to be shocking. That was a strategy. You were being shocking because you were trying to capture attention in a world that it was hard. It was coming increasingly harder to get attention. And so you would have to do and say things that would just provoke people to listen. And now I think the truth is shocking. In fact, there was a big thing the other day with the Grammys and Sam Smith had done a performance that everybody was so outraged by and shocked by. And I said, I just looked at it and I go, really? This is so boring. Madonna came out and poor gal, I don't think she's having she's probably struggling through like not necessarily having the same looks that she used to have and not knowing that, hey, Madonna, you can be enough. You are enough. You don't have to get the surgery and all this other stuff and be crazy and but I say, it's funny because we got into this point that all these things are supposed to be so shocking anymore. And I just go, you look at them and you go, oh, give me a break. You know what's shocking? Get married, have kids, go to church, like become a productive member of society. That's shocking now to say that to people. So I don't know. It's weird. It's kind of like the tables have turned, and I'm not trying to be shocking or anything, but I'm telling I'm telling the truth. And in the world of lies that we live in, that is kind of shocking to people,
Yes.
isn't it?
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. We have got Justin Barclay with us today. You can find him on Twitter at Mr. Justin Barclay, Mr. Justin Barclay, and justinbarclay.com. You have been fantastic. I have really enjoyed this. I wasn't sure what the heck I was getting into, but I'm glad that we did it.
Hey, me too, brother. Much appreciated. Love to talk to you again, and thank you very much.
So before we let you go, how do we get your book and listen to everything you're doing and all that?
JustinBarclay.com, BARCLAY.com. Everything's there. You can connect with me on all the different social places that I'm at. Watch me on Rumble or Facebook or Getter or all the Twitter. I'm not on YouTube. We got kicked off. Too much for YouTube. We're banned from
Banned
YouTube.
from YouTube.
But,
well,
too
you
hot
joined
for
the
YouTube.
long list, brother.
Yeah, no
People who have
kidding.
been
So
banned from
I
YouTube.
guess it's kind of like you're wearing your badge of honor now. But you can find us all over, and grab the book there too. I'd love to send you a copy, and I'll sign it and send it to you, and catch up.
That's awesome. Well, you are fantastic. Just your whole setup there is amazing. And thanks for making some time for us today, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you, sir.
You got it. Thank you.
Appreciate it, brother. There he goes.
God
That
bless.
is Justin Barclay. He joins us live. We are going to take a time out. When we come back, we have got more coming up.